afternoon. My name is Roxanne Favors, and I'm an Assistant Aviation Director here at Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport. I serve as the Chief Revenue Officer for the Aviation Department. I'm responsible for overseeing all the strategic and business initiatives that grow our airport revenue generation areas. Those include our aeronautical and non-aeronautical property management, our rent-a-cars, our terminal concessions, our terminal commercial advertising, and within that airport concessions program, that includes our food and beverage, retail, and passenger amenities. I wanted to thank you for taking the time today to attend today's session on operating at Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport as part of the Terminal 3 Small Business Food and Beverage Concession Opportunity. Your time is very valuable, and I want to thank you for sharing it with us. Over the past several weeks, we've hosted 2 virtual business information meetings on this exciting opportunity. If you were not able to attend either of those information meetings, I encourage you to visit solicitations.phoenix.gov and seek out those presentations. At the end of this presentation, we'll also see that information where you can find those business information meetings. Our goal today is to share more information on successfully operating the concessions at Phoenix Sky Harbor. Our airport is the front door not only to our city, our valley, but our state. We pride ourselves on being known as America's friendliest airport. We aim to provide a very warm welcome to not only our neighbors, but our visitors that come across the country and the world. Our mission for Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport is really to welcome the world to Phoenix through ambitious, sustainable airports that everyone loves. We know that our business partners play a significant role in achieving this mission. As an airport, we strive to provide our passengers with unique experiences by cultivating the best of our community culture through our dining, shopping, and amenity services, all which create this sense of place. One key to delivering an airport sense of place is the support of our small business operators that thrive on innovation and diversity. Equally important is understanding the unique airport environment for a safe, secure, and successful operation. There will be a wealth of information that our presenters will share with you just on that topic. And now I'd like to introduce a key member of my team, Sarah Morato, Aviation Small Business Engagement Manager, to lead today's presentation.
Thank you, Roxanne. And welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for this Operating at Sky Harbor outreach event in preparation for the Terminal 3 Micro Restaurant and Kiosk RCS opportunity. This upcoming opportunity is for small businesses to operate a micro restaurant and kiosk in Terminal 3. In today's session, we want to share some information about the scope of the RCS and provide some operational and logistical information on what it's like and what is required to operate a business at Sky Harbor Airport. Before we start, let's review some quick housekeeping matters. Next slide. To ensure a smooth session, all attendees have been automatically muted. We encourage audience participation via the chat, so please enter any questions you have throughout the presentation into the chat box. We will pause after each segment of the presentation for questions, and then again for a final Q&A session at the end. We will be making today's presentation slides and video recording available on our outreach page. You can find it at the first QR code listed here. As Roxanne mentioned, hopefully you were able to attend one of our business information meetings that took place on October 24th and 30th, which provided an overview of the scope. If you missed those, you can feel free to refer back. You can find the presentations and the recordings at the second QR code listed here. And just an FYI, all of the information shared about the RCS opportunity is subject to change. Next slide. Today's agenda will start with an overview of the scope, including details of the solicitation opportunity and a preliminary look at the RCS schedule. This information will be provided by the Business and Properties Concessions team. Next, we will hear from our Public Safety and Security team about our badging process and security information. That segment will be followed by an overview from our operations team on our airfield vehicle process. Then we will hear from our Business and Properties team on important employee parking information. And lastly, we have our sustainability team here to share some important information and resources. And then we'll wrap up with a general Q&A session, which will be your opportunity to ask staff any questions that haven't already been covered. All right, with that, let's go ahead and get started. Next slide, please. Our first speaker is Janet Lee, Program Manager over our concessions team. Janet will be providing an overview of the RCS scope. Thank you for being here with us, Janet.
Thank you, Sarah. I'm really excited to share with you the food and beverage small business opportunity at Terminal 3. So next slide, please. Terminal 3 is home to 16 airlines, and it's an essential hub for travelers in and out of Phoenix. The international flights from Terminal 3 are pre-custom cleared Canadian airlines, such as Porter Airlines and Air Canada. Next slide. There's going to be a growing need for food and beverage services at Terminal 3 pre-security, with only one existing concession at baggage claim. And through survey results, the feedback was to add additional food and beverage units in pre-security for our meters and greeters. The badging office is also being relocated to the new terminal it's going to be relocated to Terminal 3 and is slated to open later this year. On average, the badging office processes 200 to 300 customers a day. And with over 6 million in payments in Terminal 3 last year, concession demands will continue to rise. Next slide, please. The terminals are equipped with a range of dining and shopping options that enhance the travel experience, and this continues to be our goal. Increasing small business opportunities and driving sales and revenue with quality food and beverage offerings is essential to a successful concessions program. The operator should explore innovative solutions and technology to create a really efficient ordering and payment experience for our customers. And the overall best scored response will be selected for this opportunity. Next. For over 16 years, Phoenix Sky Harbor has been known as America's friendliest airport, and each and every one of us are responsible for this. We're all here to service our customers, and they're not dependent upon us, but we are really dependent upon them. So customers and passengers are never an interruption to our work. Instead, they're the purpose of it. And they're all people we have in contact with, both internally and externally. And it's important to emphasize customer service in your training, and it becomes a part of your culture as we are continuing to be America's friendliest airport. Next. Let's dive into the details of this opportunity. From this slide, you can see the micro restaurant will be located on the 4th floor of Terminal 3 pre-security as shown in the yellow star. You can also see the future badging office on the south side of this map. Next. The future location of the micro restaurant will sit along the window facing Camelback Mountain as shown on the photo on the left. The photos on the right shows the actual units being operated out of Terminal 4 in 2022. The micro restaurant, including tables and chairs, will occupy approximately 1,200 square feet of space. The city purchased the micro restaurant and kiosk and the associated equipment where the successful respondent will develop and propose the concepts utilizing these units. An equipment list will be shared and made available when the solicitation is published. Next. The kiosk will be located on level 1 of Terminal 3 across baggage claim on the north side of the building as indicated by the yellow star. Next. So the food and beverage option in level 1 is limited to Pete's Coffee. So by placing the kiosk behind the escalators directly across baggage claim will serve our customers waiting for their luggage. The kiosk dimensions are roughly 15 feet by 10 feet and was previously located in Terminal 4D gates. The operator previously offered hot foods such as empanadas, breakfast burritos, and coffee. But with this new opportunity, the concept and menu items are up to you to decide what's the right fit for the airport. These standalone mobile units only require electrical power, and water can be independently brought in and stored in a reservoir. Next. The contract term will be 3 years with 2 one-year renewal options for an aggregate 5-year term. Rent will be percentage of gross sales. Food and beverage will be set at 8% and 16% for alcohol, which is only applicable to the micro restaurant if the operator decides to include alcohol sales with the appropriate licenses. There will be no minimum annual guarantee or MAG for this lease. We understand to operate out of the terminal, on-site storage is important to your operations. We have identified a storage location post-security in Terminal 3. Terminal space are leased out and based on the rates and charges calculations, which is currently set at $187.08 per square foot per year. The rates are adjusted annually on July 1st. Next. Here's a look ahead of the solicitation schedule. We anticipate publishing the document in December with a pre-response meeting to follow 2 to 3 weeks afterwards. Once the procurement process is complete and the evaluation panel makes a selection, staff will need to seek City Council approval to enter into a lease with the operator, and we're tracking for spring of 2025. And a friendly reminder that these dates are subject to change as we're developing the solicitation. Next. As mentioned earlier, the airport conducted 2 business information meetings in October, and the presentation and recording of the sessions can be found at the solicitation site, which you can access from this QR code. All terms, dates, and details are subject to change as we are in development of the revenue contract solicitation. And for those of you who are not familiar with Phoenix, a revenue contract solicitation is similar to a request for proposal. But because this lease is revenue generating, Phoenix titles this as RCSs. Thank you for taking the time to learn about the small business food and beverage opportunity at Terminal 3. Next slide. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Janet. At this moment, if you want to put any questions in the chat box, we can go ahead and go through them. And if you're still processing that, we will have some more time at the end of the session to go through questions, but I'll give you a few seconds here to see if we get anything in the chat. All right, I don't see anything right now, but again, please enter any questions that you have and we'll get to them by the end. Oh, I did get a question. Let's go ahead and answer this one. So Janet, the question I see here, is there any on-site storage or just post-security for this location?
There is going to have coolers and storage within the units that is going to be locked and key, but the actual storage units and spaces is going to be post-security.
Wonderful, thank you. All right, and we have a lot of information to cover, so we'll go ahead and move on to the next segment. And then any other questions that come up, we'll take them at the end of the session. All right, now that we've learned about the scope of the RCS, let's dive into some of the security aspects of working at the airport. Operating a business in our terminals can be very different than operating one at a street location. In order to keep all of our passengers and employees safe, there are a number of security policies in place, such as mandatory badging for all employees. For this next segment, I'd like to introduce Wens Arevalo and our Public Safety and Security Division, including Chris. Wens works in the security badging office and will be providing an overview of the badging process. Wens is joined by his colleague Chris Kurtzals, who will then share information about some other security protocols. Thank you both for being here today. I'll turn it over to you now, Wens.
Thank you for joining this meeting today. I am the supervisor over the badging office who will work alongside with Chris on the security side. Again, I want to welcome you and I appreciate Sarah giving us the opportunity to speak to you today. So next, please. So I want to welcome everybody. The badging process can seem intimidating at sometimes with our customers and our stakeholders, but I really want to speak to how easy the process actually is. Working here at Sky Harbor Airport, as stated earlier, we want to make it a safe and secure place for all of us to work and be able to take care of our customers and our employees. And the badging process is a very important piece of that. That is that extra security layer that we have implemented here at Sky Harbor to achieve those things that we are trying to accomplish by working with our partners such as TSA, CBP, and our local law enforcement. The badging process is easy, and I'm here to talk to you about the process and a little overview to kind of let you know what to expect, and then I'll answer any questions after that. Next. So I'm excited to tell you we're moving. We're moving from our current location, and we will be your neighbor. But not only your neighbor, but will be a key customer of yours if you're chosen for this opportunity. The badging office that's being constructed in Terminal 3 are going to be full of enhancements that are going to be able to allow us to process badge applications and provide a more efficient way to provide security and customer service to the people that we badge here at the Phoenix Sky Harbor. With those upgrades, physically with the new office, we're also going to have a new management system that allow us to process people more efficiently when it comes to processing backgrounds for those badges. Next. I'm going to go over the company process. If selected for an opportunity here at Sky Harbor Airport, there is a process that needs to be completed to establish your company. Next. One of those things is once awarded a contract, the City of Phoenix will author a letter of sponsorship that will be sent over to the badging office for us to start setting up the process for your company for you to process employees for badging. One of the important things in these letter of sponsorship is what we call an authorized signatory. That authorized signatory is that liaison through your company that will work with the badging office to take on the responsibility of badging and credentialing your employees. The authorized signatory will be that first person that will be completed and badged for your company. Next. Now I'll speak to the badging process. The badging process is going to change going into the new facility. We are finding some more efficiencies just because of the physical layout of the new facility, along with the identity management system that we'll be utilizing. We are going to show you a video of our old operation that we're currently working on, but that video will be updated as soon as we move into our new building. Next.
Welcome to Phoenix Sky Harbor International Airport's Security Badging Office, located at the airport's Operations Building. We are happy to help you with your badging needs. Security is a top priority for the airport. It is our responsibility to keep our passengers and the airport safe. To ensure these safety measures, the badging process is very important. Here are some steps you can take that will simplify this process for you. Step 1. Your company will tell you to go to the Security Badging Office to start the background checking process. To do this, you can schedule your appointment online. Join the walk-in badging queue or visit the front desk as a walk-in customer. Once complete, you will immediately receive a text or email confirmation. Step 2. Check in at the front desk and take a seat. Try to arrive 10 minutes before your appointment to avoid being late and having to reschedule. Step 3. An airport access agent will take your fingerprints, review your identification documents, and give you a temporary badge. Step 4. With a temporary badge, you can now begin working as long as your employer escorts you within the airport's restricted areas. Step 5. When your background check's complete, your authorized signer will advise you of the next steps. Thank you for letting us help you have a quick, seamless experience at the Security Badging Office. We are excited for you to join us in our commitment to making Phoenix Sky Harbor International Airport a safe and secure place for all.
This is just a quick snapshot of the badging process. You can go to the next slide, please. As I said before, once your company is established and that authorized signatory has received their training, they'll be given all the information they need to make it for a successful badging process for your employees. One of those submissions of the application would be the first thing that authorized signatory would do in order to get your employees badged. Once that application is submitted, then they're going to send that employee over to the badging office so we can do some fingerprinting, some background submissions in order for them to obtain that badge. And then finally, we do training, and then we'll print that badge out for them. Next. The initial processing step, again, is sending your employee over to the badging office so they can see one of our trusted agents. Our trusted agents are the ones that conduct the initial processing for your employees to be badged. What they're going to do is they're going to verify documents. They're going to take some fingerprints. We're going to send those fingerprints in for submission for 2 background checks. One that's done through a security threat assessment for TSA. And the second is a fingerprint clearance check that we do here at the Sky Harbor Airport. That final piece will be collecting the payment, and then we will print a temporary badge. Sky Harbor Airport is the only airport that allows a temporary badge to be issued at initial processing. And what that does is it allows your employee to work for your company while they're waiting for the background process to be complete. That process usually takes 7 to 10 days, sometimes a little bit more efficiently than that. But it does allow that person to immediately start working as long as they're working with another badged employee who has a privilege that we call escort. So we're the only airport that does that. And I think it benefits our stakeholders to allow these employees to start working immediately so that there isn't any lag time and possibly lose that employee. Next. The fees associated with the badging process are, we charge a $39 initial fingerprinting fee, and that covers the submission of the fingerprints, the security threat assessment that's done by TSA, and then a $5 badge printing fee for that temporary badge. Once the employee receives their background clearances and conducts their training and comes in to receive their permanent badge, there is a $50 refundable badge control fee, which is given back once that badge is turned in if that employee should leave. If the employee stays, whenever the renewal date comes up, they will be charged a $10 renewal for a reprint of that particular badge. I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to my counterpart, Chris Kurtzels, for the aviation security side.
All right, thank you, Wentz. Hello, my name is Chris Kurtzel. I'm a Supervisor 3 over here at the Security Compliance. My primary function is to assist with the overseeing the airport security program. Next slide. So doing business with Phoenix Sky Harbor, there are going to be some expectations and some requirements if you decide to come work here. So after 9/11, TSA submitted a directive to all airports that certain items cannot be brought to the airport or be brought through the airport security checkpoints. However, concessionaires, restaurants have to do business, so usually have items such as knives, wine keys, scissors, and box cutters. So there are some expectations and some policies we have in place to help you be successful as far as having and documenting and controlling your prohibited items. Next slide. So here's a security notice as part of our rules and regulations on how to document a prohibited item, let's say a knife or a box cutter or a pair of scissors, and also what to do if one of those items came up missing during your shift work. Next slide. So we developed a knife log to help you manage the inventory of your prohibited items. This is very easy to fill out. We have a program now where if you do come to the airport, either myself or one of my counterparts will come out and do in-house training for you and your staff and do some dry runs to make sure that your paperwork is filled out correctly. We do check these logs every month and we go back 60 days. TSA may come in on a random period and also check your knife logs. We check the knife logs and also we also account for your prohibited items that you have in stock. All right, next slide. All right, as far as the security and safety protocol and the enhancing safety and security here at the airport, there is an app called the CSAY app. You can download that from Apple or Google, and you hit the QR code, you fill out your information. If you happen to see something that is either safety or security related, you can just submit some information, take a picture of that, submit it, and that information automatically gets sent to our command center. And then what the command center does is they'll analyze it and they'll dispatch appropriate people to address that situation, or be a safety or security related issue. Okay. Next slide. So as far as working here at the airport and being compliant with security, it can be a big haul, but we're here to help you be successful. So if you have any questions on that, feel free to reach out now. If you do get the come here and with your sessions coming around the corner here in the next year or 2 years, we have a lot of updates coming in, so a lot of resources we can hand over to you. But we're here to help. We're here to help be successful. So is there any questions for Wentz and I?
All right, thank you, Chris and Wentz. Let me check the chat to see if we've had any questions come in from your segment. And if you have any questions right now, please enter them, anything really related to the badging process or the security information that Chris just shared. And I did get a question about audio being an issue. It doesn't appear to be an issue across the board. So if you're having some issues, we are recording the session, as I said before, so you will be able to refer back to anything that you might have missed during the segment. And there were a couple of questions posted about the information that Janet shared with us earlier. So we will take those at the end. Right now, we're just going to have questions about the security and badging information. It kind of looks like Chris and Wenz might have covered everything, and there's no questions for you, at least not right now, but they will be sticking around. So I want to say thank you to Wenz and Chris for presenting today. And if there's any questions that come up, please enter them in the chat and we'll take them at the end. So thanks again. So now that we've learned all about the security and badging process, let's learn about how your employees can go about parking when reporting to work in the terminals. Next slide. For this next segment, I would like to introduce our parking superintendent, Leah Kahns. Leah will be sharing a quick overview of the employee parking process. I'll turn it over to you now, Leah.
Thank you, Sarah. Good afternoon. I'm Leah Kahns, Aviation Superintendent with Business and Properties Parking and Rental Car Center. Today, I'm briefly going to go over how to establish monthly parking for your company along with your employees. Next slide, please. So once you've completed the badging process, you'll reach out to the employee parking office, preferably via email at airportparking@phoenix.gov, and let us know that you've been awarded a contract. We will provide you the necessary paperwork needed to establish your company here at Sky Harbor. In this paperwork, you will identify who's going to be your parking representative, along with who will receive your monthly invoices. And then once that paperwork's completed, return that back to us. We'll get you set up. And then we'll provide you with a portal link that puts you in our payment accounts. And there you'll be able to pay your monthly bill. So your employees will be assigned to the 44th Street employee lot at this facility. They will need to take the SkyTrain over to your workplace. Your company will be assigned 2 complimentary manager cards. These cards, will allow you parking in the terminals and can be assigned at your discretion. Next slide, please. So this is a sample of what the employee portal will look like. This is the link that you'll pay your monthly invoices through. Next slide, please. And then these are some important phone numbers for you to have along with your employees. The 4545 number is answered 24/7, 365 days of the year. This phone number is designed to help with people that cannot locate their vehicle, if they have a flat tire, need a jump start, or just need any kind of assistance. My parking contractor is here to assist them. And then the next phone number for the employee parking office, this would be used if your cards aren't working or if you have a question about your account. Next slide, please. And I think that's it. Any questions?
All right, thank you, Leah. I will check the chat here. If anyone has any questions, please enter them at this time. And again, if there's any questions that you've entered that were regarding the material we covered previously, we'll make sure to get those to those at the end of the session. Leah, we do have a question. Are additional parking cards available for purchase in addition to the 2 complimentary ones?
At this time, no. Each company is only approved for 2 complimentary cards.
All right. And then we have another question. This is just a general one. Will we receive these slides or a copy of this presentation? So I'll go ahead and answer that. There will be a copy of this presentation, both in slide form and a video recording posted to the website. and you will be getting an email to let you know when that information has been posted. Please give us about 72 hours to get that information out to you. All right, I don't see any other questions, so let's continue on to the next presentation. Thank you so much, Leah. So now that you know how to get your employees badged, you know some of the security protocols inside the terminal, like our knife policies, and you learned how to report a security incident and how the parking process works. Let's shift gears on some of the operational items to consider once you're up and running your micro restaurant and kiosk in the terminal. So you may be curious about how to get your food or equipment deliveries to you. Well, this next segment will help explain just that. So let me introduce Jody Springer. Jody is an airside operations manager and will be sharing information on airfield vehicle operations, including escort procedures and how that relates to any deliveries you may need. Thank you for being here with us today, Jody. Jody, I think you're still on mute.
Okay, there we go. Good afternoon, everybody. Sorry about that. As Sarah said, I'm Jody Springer. I'm the Airside Operations Manager, and I'll be helping with your airside deliveries. Depending on the location of your restaurant or your food services, if they're in the terminal itself, pre-checkpoint, then most of those deliveries will go landside, but most of the services will be post-checkpoint, which means they have to be screened and sterile, delivering into the sterile concourse. So I will be discussing some of the safety issues and security issues operating on the airfield. Next slide, please. Okay, airfield driving privileges. As I talked about earlier, when you get your badge at the badging office, you will go through training. One of the aspects of training will be airfield driving privileges at the airport, where you will learn how to drive at the airport and where you can and where you cannot drive. The other part of that training also, you'll go through escort training, which means you can escort vehicles on the airport to and from the gate where you'll be inspected and or your location inside the concourses. Personnel who must have a valid driver's license in their possession while they're driving on the airfield. You cannot get an ADP privileges without that driver's license. Proper and current company aviation insurance is required to operate on the airfield also. You can kind of get the details of the proper insurance coverage from our business and properties team. Once you get vehicles and you're on the airfield, the vehicles must be clearly identified with a logo or a company name on both sides of the vehicle. If it's a logo, it'll be 12 inches in diameter type thing in size, or if it's just letters of the name of the company, it can be 4-inch letters. Vehicles with no logos or company name must be escorted. And there's two little things with that. If you're escorting someone that does not operate at the airport, they won't have a logo, or they may not have a logo. Or if you have a vehicle and you have magnets, but the magnets do not attach to the vehicle, that vehicle can come on the airfield, but that vehicle must be escorted by another person. You can't drive on that airfield with an ADP. You actually have to be escorted yourself. Next slide, please. Deliveries must utilize man gates for vehicles and delivery inspections. We have 4 gates at Sky Harbor Airport, 2 on the perimeter. That's gate 141 and 116 and 248. And then we 2 have in the center core, which are the primary gates to use for your deliveries to the terminals, because that's the closest gates to the terminals. That's gate 220 and gate 141. These locations are close to the center, so it's the quickest, easiest access to the concourses and your delivery services. We do have 141, which feeds the north concourses. Gate 220 feeds the south concourses. 141 is actually going to be relocated with the new Terminal 3 concourse sometime next year. Not the concourse, but the gate will be relocated. And it'll go to the east end of the airport. It'll still feed the north concourses, but it'll move from the center of the airport to the east end of the airport by the American hangar. The gate number will change from 141 to another number. It has not been defined yet, but we're looking at something like probably 125 or gate 125 or something like that. Next slide, please. So here's a picture of the airport and the 4 current gates, man gates for screening purposes. You have gate 116 up to the north at the top. You can see 220 and 141 in the center core. 220 feeds the south concourses, 141 feeds the north concourses. Then you go down to 248 way down south. And that's primarily more of a cargo gate, but it is a gate that can be used as access to the airfield. 116 and 248 are quite a drive. So as I said, 220 and 141 will be the primarily gates to utilize for the concourses because it's closer for your deliveries. You see the yellow square to the right over where it says gate with question marks. That's where the new location of gate 141 will go. And as I said, we're not sure what we're going to call it yet, but the gates in that area are 119, 123. So 125 could be, is probably a guess of what it'll be right now. That gate is probably going to open up sometime June of next year. Next slide, please. When you're providing an escort, because you will have to escort your deliveries onto the airfield, unless your delivery company is already badged to operate on the airfield. So if you're providing an escort, the person providing the escort must have approved escort privileges with an escort icon, the word escort icon on their credentials. Vehicle service roadways should be used as much as possible. Some deliveries have to go to a door that's on a ramp underneath a jetway or something like that. So it's not required, but the service roadway should be used as much as possible before leaving the service roadway and going to your destination. Aircraft always have the right of way on the ramp. Be aware of your surroundings. Vehicles, planes, tugs, ground powers, or not ground powers, bell loaders. There's a lot of activity on the airfield, so you really have to be aware of your surroundings and have situational awareness because it is very tight in some places out there. So you need to kind of keep an eye on what you're doing and where you're driving, and remember that you have an escort behind you. So just because you can make it doesn't mean your escort can. The moving areas such as taxiways and runways, it's strictly prohibitive. You must be certified to operate in those areas. So please ensure you understand where those locations are. They're clearly defined on the airfield. You'll go through that in the ADP training. And if you do violate the moving area, they're subject to notice of violations and suspension of the ADP and or the badge. So it's all based on kind of the severity of the incursion and or vehicle pedestrian deviation with aircraft. But we really do keep an eye on that, and we kind of monitor it and restrict it and make sure that everybody stays out of the moving area because that's aircraft only. Next slide, please. When you go to the gate and to make contact with your escort, one of the things you should ask is if they have any prohibitive items in their vehicle. Please understand prohibitive items at the checkpoint are different than the prohibitive items that come through a manned gate. Tools can't go through the checkpoint, but tools are allowed through the manned gates. So what you're looking for is when you ask that driver for a deadly weapon of some sort, firearms, explosives, knives that aren't tools. Certain knives are considered tools. So just remember, tools are allowed, but please remember, please do ask prior to that, because if you do not ask, you could be subject to an NOV again for not ensuring that a prohibited item is not being brought onto the airfield. Also, the escort must remain with the person being escorted at all times. Once you get them, you must be with them at all times, regardless of where they go. They cannot leave your side unless you pass them on to another escort-approved person from your company. Next slide, please. For safety purposes, Airside will escort all oversized vehicles on the airfield. Any kind of tractor trailer, the big ones, 48 foot, 54 foot, anything like that, we will conduct all escorts. You will not be allowed to escort those vehicles. You will have to call operations, and we will meet you at the gate, and we will escort those vehicles. Box trucks are not considered oversized. So when you're talking at a delivery truck like a Hertz box truck or anything like that, those are not considered overtime, and you are allowed to escort those vehicles. While you're on the airfield, beware of the height restrictions as they vary throughout the airport. There's 15 feet, some are 12.5 feet, some are 14 feet. So you need to get yourself familiar with the VSRs and the roadways and the terminals, and make sure you understand the different heights for vehicle driving. Airside will assist with any questions and any emergency escorts. If something comes up and you just don't have somebody to help out or to get that escort, give us a call. Call Oscar 30, the Airside supervisor. And there's a phone number, 602-273-2008, and we will be there to assist. We will assist you, but understand we will not escort scheduled deliveries throughout the day or throughout the week. We will assist with emergency situations only. And as the next slide, due to liability issues, we will not escort scheduled deliveries, and they should not be delivered in scheduled in oversized vehicles. When I say liability, what it is if that vehicle accidentally does hit something, the escort could be liable for any damage, and that's one of the things that we as the airport do not want to be part of. We are here to assist, but we are not here to take all the liability away from the activity that you need to have to make your business run. Next slide, please. And that's it. I'm not sure if there's any questions. I hope this helps out. We're mostly want to make sure that everything is safe and secure on the airfield, and we are here to assist. So please feel free to ask any questions or call that operations number anytime you feel.
All right, thank you, Jody. And I'm monitoring the chat right now. I don't see any questions that have popped, but if you have any questions about airside driving or escort privileges that Jody's gone over, please enter those in the chat, and we will make sure to get to those at the end of the session. So again, thank you so much for being here, Jody. I think we'll move on to the next segment of the presentation. We have one more segment today. So here at the airport, sustainability is a high priority for all of us and in the city of Phoenix in general. We're always looking for ways to minimize our impact and be more efficient in our day-to-day operations. So with that, let me introduce Brett Aiken from our sustainability team to discuss some of the sustainability information and resources available to airport business operators. Thank you for being here with us today, Brett.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, absolutely. My name is Brett Aiken. As mentioned, I'm the recycling coordinator here at Phoenix Sky Harbor. So my main job is to focus on the waste and recycling operations that deal with the tenants and in all of our shared spaces here at Sky Harbor. Next slide, please. All right, so just to give you a little brief information about our program, some of our accomplishments, we want to break it down for you. Our recycling infrastructure is all co-located. So basically, anytime you see a waste can, you're always going to see a recycling can right next to it. And we're slowly moving towards doing tri-located cans, which would, in the long term, be waste recycling, as well as compost and food scraps. So it's something we're really excited about. As you can see, right next to that can right there, we have what we call our liquid collection stations. If you've been to some airports, they only have like one or two as you approach the checkpoints. At Phoenix Sky Harbor, we have 22, and it makes a big difference. You would be surprised. We divert the weight of 3 747s annually from those checkpoints, and we put all that water back into the wastewater treatment plant, and it goes to grow crops and other things like that here in Arizona, since we are in a desert. So it's very important for us. Next to that, you'll see some what we call of our water resource educations. We have those posters above every bottle refilling station throughout the campus. We also have posters, as you can see right there with the light bulb on them, that are above all of our containers, our waste containers and recycling containers in the post-security areas. And this month, we're actually going to be transitioning those similar containers to the pre-security side, so we can almost double our messaging. But right now, there's over 200 posters campus-wide. It's really great. We did win the 2022 National Recycling Coalition Award for Outstanding Educational Outreach for this particular program. So pretty excited about that. My job basically is we collect all of those dashboards of metrics. I have a file, and I call it an at a glance. So it kind of shows you where we are at any given month on everything that we collect, which would be mixed recycling, cardboard, metals, LDPE film, wooden pallets, plastic pallets, green waste, and compostable and food scrap items. Next slide, please. So our compost program is actually our newest program. And as you can see from this slide, what you're actually seeing here is what I would like to call our dock collection bins. There are 65 in total, over 13 docks here at Sky Harbor. They have a keyless locking lid to prevent FOD from escaping and getting out into our airfield. It also has a gasketed lid to keep the odors inside. It's very good. And it also helps in pest prevention. This is one of the items that it's actually been in progress for about a year now. It's kind of hard to believe it's been going that long, but we're very excited about it. So far, we are diverting anywhere from 13 to 18 tons a month of food scraps directly out of our landfill, and we make that into compost again at our 27th Ave facility with the City of Phoenix. Surprising amount, we are seeing almost 8 tons of coffee grounds a month, which is a staggering number, but that just shows you everybody at Sky Harbor likes their coffee. Next slide, please. So if you will have items that would be compostable or food scrap related items within the restaurant that you are looking to establish with us, this is the bin that would be afforded to you. It's completely free of charge. We sponsor the entire compost program at the City of Phoenix, and it's a slim can design, as you can see. It does have educational material on top for your employees to kind of move them in the right steps of what we are looking to collect within those. It comes on its own dolly, and everything is branded, so it's kind of one little piece. We also supply the green bags for you, so when you get close to running out of bags, you'll basically just give us a call. We'll bring some out to you. Next slide, please. So along with that can, this is the poster that you will have to display in your back of house areas. It kind of shows a little more of a breakdown, shows the bags, and then it shows where we want the bags taken to, which was that first green can that you saw, the one on the docks. And this poster is also, you can not only get it in your back of house areas, but it is in the back of house hallways as well as on the docks themselves. So you're never without our phone number if you need any assistance on any of our programs or to ask for more bags. Next slide, please. All right, speaking of our dock space, our docks are very tight, but they're very mighty. We do a lot on them. And as you can see here, this is showing kind of what we have going on our dock areas. To make everything fit in its own space, all the areas are paint designated. So you'll see there's green markings on the ground on that one, and there's blue markings on the one right next to it as far as the recycling. So everything has its place, and it is very important to keep those docks as tidy and clutter-free as possible because they are a shared space, and we want everybody's goals to be successful. Next slide, please. So just a couple examples here of things we don't like to see, dock etiquette. You can see in the one slide there, we got some milk crates on top of it, prohibiting use of those containers. And the other one basically just shows a bunch of racks in front of those compost containers. So again, the job we're looking to do is to keep all the areas on top, in front, and around any of our containers completely clutter-free, again, because those are shared space, and we want the program to be successful for everyone. Next slide, please. All right, so keeping the compost area clear is essential, but it's not the only area that we want to keep clear and focus on. Every dock, with the exception of just a few, have dedicated cardboard balers, and we want to encourage all of our tenants to utilize those balers as much as possible. These are kind of some examples here of things we don't like to see. You can see like the signage on the wall. This particular dock, in a lot of cases, they do have balers, but the tenants here were actually utilizing putting the cardboard in the blue containers, which are for mixed recyclables. So we want to try to keep those streams as separate as possible because anytime any cardboard goes into the mixed recycling, there is a chance if there's heavy water content that cardboard could not be reusable. So we just like to pre-separate that at the dock level, and it makes everything better. Again, the blue cans, the blue cans are not on every dock, just FYI. Some areas have dedicated spaces that have compactors for our mixed recycling, but these right here are shown, and these are collected 24/7, these particular cans here by our landside team. And next slide, please. All right, so that was kind of a 30,000-foot view of what we do, some of the things we have going on as far as the waste and recycling portion in sustainability. If you want to take a minute actually to scan that QR code, it'll take you to a page that'll show you the entire catalog of those educational posters that I was talking about. And something we're really excited about is that entire catalog was actually translated 5 additional languages other than English. So it reaches a broad amount of people, and we're really excited about that. And also within that QR code, it shows a full list of the acceptable items that we collect here at Sky Harbor. So unless you have any questions, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you so much for that great information, Brett. I don't see any questions right now regarding your presentation here in the chat, but let's see, if you have any, please enter them and we'll get to any other questions at the very end. So let's go ahead and move on to the next slide. And thank you again, Brett. He'll stick around if we get any questions for him at the end. Before we move on to our last QA session, I wanted to share some helpful resources with all of you. On this slide, you can see several QR code websites listed here, and there will be distributed to you so you can actually download this, and there's links to these so that you can visit those websites more easily. The first link will lead you to our vendor registration portal managed by the city's downtown finance department. Registration is open to any and all interested vendors. So once the self-registration process is complete, vendors will receive a notice via email when there is a solicitation within their stated scope of work. In order to do business with the city, you must be registered as a vendor. So please check that out. We also recommend periodically checking for current solicitations posted when you can do so, and you can do that in the second link here. There's a lot of great information posted on our solicitation website about when the solicitation posts, including due dates, who the procurement officer is, and if there's a pre-solicitation meeting scheduled, which we highly recommend you attend for more details. That's also where the solicitation details for this opportunity will be posted as well, so be sure to check back often. The next link will lead you to the city's Equal Opportunity Department website, which can provide you with information on how to get certified in one of our small and disadvantaged business programs. The next link is our outreach website. If you're interested in learning more about upcoming outreach events that we host, make sure to visit this website. We will also be posting the slides and recording from today's presentation there within 72 business hours. And lastly, you can visit our Sky Harbor business website to learn more about doing business with us. At this point, I will open it up one last time to any remaining questions we have for any segment of today's presentation. And I know there was a few that we did not cover, so I'm going to go back up and let's go ahead and bring Janet back on. I know there's a couple questions for her. All right, so Janet, there was a question about, will the micro restaurant and kiosk be restricted to reservoir tanks for water, or is there a possibility to run water lines to these locations?
So right now in Terminal 3 in those 2 designated areas, there is no infrastructure ready for the water lines. So water can only be stored and brought in the reservoirs.
Okay, great, thank you. And then there's a question, is it possible to obtain Pete's Coffee yearly sales revenue for the last 3 years?
There is. So I'd recommend visiting phoenix.gov, and right under the search toolbox, there is a Find Public Records button that we can go in there and enter all the requested information. And then once it gets filtered to the airport, we'll be gladly sharing that information with you.
Wonderful. And if you have questions about that process, again, you can reach out to us and we can walk you through that. This next question is for actually Wentz and Chris, I believe. So this is regarding our security presentation. Let's bring Wentz and Chris back on. Sorry about that. So how does the TSA aviation worker screening mandate affect concessions operators?
Subject to screening.
Yes, that's a good question. The bottom line is everybody's subject to screening. So we can really go and delve into that more when someone comes on site. But the gist of it is everybody is subject to random screenings at any point in time for any badge holders and any accessible property.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you both. The next question. So this one is not for the two of you, so we'll go ahead and take you off. But is there a class for this type of information for newcomers or a video? That's a great question. So we are going to be posting this information onto the website. So you will have a video of this to reference back on our outreach page. In addition to that, we are developing resources and checklists for new tenants as they are on board, and you will have staff available as resources. All the folks that we're presenting here today are available. You know, if you do become a business partner with us, we are here to help you and help walk you through a lot of the information that you heard today. As you know, there was quite a bit and it is complex, but there is no shortage of staff and resources here to be here to help you.
I'm on. Hey, Sarah, can you hear me?
Yep, Roxanne.
Okay, yeah, so just a couple of things. On the question about the security, regardless if you're pre-security, so that's before TSA, or post-security, badging is required to be on the airport. So that's what makes the airport environment a little different. The reason why we really wanted to put this presentation together. And then regarding some of the sales growth information, some of that information may be included when we finally release the solicitation. So some of this other information you're asking about the business opportunity and other activity within the terminal will be part of the information in the solicitation that's there. And then lastly, to Sarah's point, we are looking at developing a more robust academy that really kind of helps small businesses get to understand about operating and future opportunities. So I'd say stay tuned and engage in our small business engagement list as we bring these along. We do quarterly sessions, as well as we have our signature event coming up this February, which is Aviation Business Summit, that kind of holistically talks about doing business with the airport. So I just wanted to take that opportunity to share a little bit of more of that information.
Thank you so much, Roxanne. And I appreciate you doing a shout out to the Business Summit. We do have the save the date posted on our website. So hopefully all of you got a copy of that. It is February 25th of next year, and registration will be coming later this month. So keep an eye out for that. I don't see any other questions in the chat, and we are at the end of the hour, but as you can see here, there is information about how to contact us. Our bus ops email, as well as our business line, is right there. If you have any questions, feel free to follow up. And anyone in attendance today will get an email from us within 72 hours when we have the session recordings and slides available. Well, thank you very much for attending today, and have a great rest of your day.